Hey, this is Joel with America Giants, and I thought for this week's episode we'd do something really fun. I've actually really enjoyed compiling this, but ever since I started this, I've had people comment, oh, did you see the Muffler Men in such and such a movie? Did you see the Muffler Man in such and such a TV show? And this has been trickling in over all these years that I've been into Muffler Men, and I thought, I've never compiled a list of all the times that Muffler Men have been in movies and TV. And so it's taken me a good week of hard work going back through old messages and going through old emails and compiling this list in all the different years and things that Muffler have been in. So let's take a wild ride through Hollywood and look at all the times that Muffler Men have been referenced or shown in movies and TV shows. The earliest record I was able to find on a Muffler Man in the movies or on TV is also one of the better known appearances. This would be the 1969 movie Easy Rider with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way.
In the opening sequence of the movie, the two ride their choppers down Route 66 past the Lumberjack Cafe, and a large Paul Bunyan Muffler Man can clearly be seen in the background. The first Muffler Man ever made by Bob Pruitt was purchased by the Lumberjack Cafe in 1963 and was set up at the entrance door to the building. It was such a big success that when Pruitt sold his molds to International Fiberglass in the fall of that year, they soon ordered a second Bunyan from the new company. It is this second Bunyan that was purchased from International Fiberglass that appears behind the two actors in Easy Rider. It was placed to the left of the building in the parking lot area. Today, both of these giants reside at the nearby university. Interestingly, Dennis Hopper would take special notice of this giant, and because of that, you will hear his name again later in this video.
What really happened to the class of 65? A startling new series. Premieres 1/2 hour from now at 10, 9 Central and Mountain on NBC.
The next appearance of a Muffler Man took place in 1977 in a little-known TV show called Whatever Happened to the Class of 65. The Muffler Man appears in the third episode of the series when two young men try to open a small burger business and run into zoning issues and inspections when they decide their business needs a Muffler Man. By the end of the show, the giant ends up falling onto their business. This show comes just 10 years after this situation actually played out, with giants facing increasing zoning issues when they were put up and Texaco dealing with their giants falling over. There were only 14 episodes of this short-lived TV show, and as hard as I tried, I could not find footage of the episode to determine which giant was used in it.
On the road, BA, we'll make it.
The A-Team made an episode in 1984 during its third season called Timber, which took place near 3 Points, California, at a place called Newcomb's Ranch, which was a small place alongside the highway. The filming took place in 1984. It is our guess that the Bunyan was hauled in for the shoot rather than already existing at that location. There were a number of lumberjack giants in the LA area, and we are not sure exactly which one was used. The most likely are the Bunyan that stood at a gas station in Newhall in those days, and can be found today in Mentone at the property of Pete Van Horn. Another possibility is the Bunyan that once stood at the entrance to Big Bear Village. The giant was in front of Burger Haven near Fuller's Guest Lodge. It seems the Bunyan at Newcomb's was taken down after it was used in the TV show. The Wizard of Speed and Time used a Muffler Man for one of their episodes in 1988, but I was not able to find evidence of it or the episode it was in, but supposedly one appears briefly. The show was shot in and around the Los Angeles area, so this seems very likely that a Muffler Man was included in the filming. In 1991, for the well-known hit movie Nothing But Trouble, starring John Candy, Demi Moore, and Dan Aykroyd, the idea of Muffler Men was used in a scene. You can clearly see a bunch of giants in a junkyard or field, and their resemblance to Muffler Men have not gone unnoticed. It is believed that the art department got their inspiration from the Muffler Men, but made their own for the movie. There is no record what became of these after the filming was over.
Just write a ticket here, or we could settle it some other way, perhaps.
Also in 1991, Sean Penn directed a movie called The Indian Runner, starring Viggo Mortensen, David Morse, and Patricia Arquette. The film was largely shot around Omaha, Nebraska, and during location scouting, the crew happened upon a Uniroyal gal named Marge the Muffler Queen. She was hauled to a nearby lake and used in a wedding scene for the movie. Once the filming was over, the gal was returned to her owner on private property. American Giants did a complete episode on this story and the girl's twin sister and history.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, will you do the fandango? Thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening me. Galileo, Figaro.
The very next year, we have another Muffler Man appearance in a big movie called Wayne's World. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey star in this well-remembered hit, and in one scene are driving around in the car at night and pass the Eye Care Indian on the roof of a business near Midway Airport. The giant still stands there today and is considered a local landmark. It is not known what year he was installed, but it was most likely in the mid-60s when he stood at a cigar store. This location was also filmed by us at American Giants in the very early days of the YouTube channel, with our original crew, and looks much the same now as it did back then. By the way, all of those original American Giants episodes are available on our Patreon page. Links in the description. In 1993, a movie called Bodies, Rest, and Motion was shot in the Arizona desert south of Phoenix and used a Muffler Man Native American Indian for the filming. The movie starred Bridget Fonda, Eric Stoltz, Tim Roth, and Phoebe Cates. A local giant at a souvenir store was used and relocated to a rural gas station and appeared in a couple scenes of the movie. When the filming was complete, the giant was returned to his former location, but sadly burned down in the early 2000s. You can still find the legs of this statue today, and we have made this giant the focus of another recent episode. In 1998, Saturn used the Los Angeles golfer, now Porsche giant, in a commercial about a guy who worked at the golf course. The idea was to advertise the dent-resistant abilities of the Saturn cars, and in the commercial you can clearly see the golfer Muffler Man before he was modified. Today the giant stands near a racetrack and is a local icon of the area. Probably one of the best-known appearances of a Muffler Man on TV is when the carpet-holding Bunyan in New Jersey appeared in the opening credits of The Sopranos. It is not a great shot, and the giant only briefly appears, but it was certainly noticed by fans as a Muffler Man and a real icon in that area. The giant still stands there today, and the producers of the show would not forget about Muffler Men as the show progressed into the 2000s. Battlefield Earth was John Travolta's new movie in the year 2000, starring himself as well as Forrest Whitaker, Barry Pepper, and Kelly Preston. The movie takes place in the year 3000 when Earth is a wasteland and man is an endangered species. In one scene, he finds an old putt-putt course, which is interesting because these are a great place to find vintage international fiberglass figures and animals. However, nothing is recognizable from international fiberglass. In the following scene, he is taken to the city to be shown the god, which turns out to be a Muffler Man holding a wrench. Although the giant used is not an actual Muffler Man, it is clear where they got their inspiration, and the giant has the classic arm pose and is even holding a giant wrench. The giant was either a prop or made with CG, but there is an entire scene where it is the main focus and can be clearly seen in a number of different angles and shots. The same year, a much smaller budget movie was made in Southern Illinois called Poor White Trash. The movie starred Jamie Presley, William Devane, and Tony Denman. The movie was shot around the city of Benton, and back in those days, a Big John statue was located in the parking lot of a grocery store in town. In an early scene, two of the stars ride their bikes past the Big John, and he is clearly visible in the background. The giant was removed in 2005 and could be seen in Unger, West Virginia, as part of the Farnham collection. In 2004, the Sopranos were in their 5th season of filming and were working on an episode called In Camelot. The filming took place on Long Island at the Riverhead Raceway track where an Indian chief Muffler Man is located. The Muffler Man is featured in a few scenes with James Gandolfini and is still in that location if you visit today.
Femron had a total profit of...
Also in 2004, a Bunyan appeared in an episode of Big Fat Obnoxious Boss, which was a short-lived TV series for good reason. The giant shows up in episode 4 when the group is at Wolf's Flea Market at an indoor scene. The giant was not moved there for the shooting, but was owned by the flea market at the time and was simply a convenience for the shoot. The giant was later sold and moved to Crystal Lake, and these days he can be found in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and is known as Meadow Gold Mac.
In an abandoned aqueduct underneath the city.
In 2005, Brian Williams of NBC News traveled to New Orleans to cover the Hurricane Katrina disaster. And when the situation downtown declined, his crew relocated and set up in the front of the former Midas Man located there. The giant was a well-known landmark in the city of New Orleans for years. We eventually purchased him for the museum and moved him to our shop in June of 2021. He is awaiting restoration. Also in 2005, Dodge made a truck commercial that prominently featured a lumberjack.
Jesus, big truck.
It is clear where they got their inspiration, but the giant used was not actually a Muffler Man, but possibly made for the commercial. I have never seen this giant and have no idea what became of him, but in one scene the giant seems to walk off and disappear, and in the last scene of the commercial a truck is seen leaving the area with a giant axe in the back. In 2008, Will Ferrell shot a movie in Flint, Michigan called Semi-Pro, and the snurd located at the Dort Mall was used in the filming. Formerly from Kansas City, this snurd was used just the way he was for the film, and was relocated by the film crew to the stadium for an outdoor shot. When filming was complete, the giant was put back at the Dort Mall. In January of 2014, the snurd was sold to Bruce Kennedy of Bell Plastics and moved to Hayward, California, where he still stands today.
Looks like he's running the offense.
In 2009, Parks and Recreation clearly showed two giants in their opening sequence. One of them is a Corey statue, and the other is an Indian Chief Muffler Man. Both are still in the same locations today. In 2012, Danny Trejo starred in a movie called Badass, which was filmed in the LA area. During the opening credits, Sergio, the Muffler Man, can clearly be seen and is a well-known Muffler Man icon of that area. The giant does not show up again in the film, but he was certainly spotted by Muffler Man followers when the movie came out. The next year, in Season 4 of Shipping Wars, two Muffler Men show up in an episode and are hauled from California. These are exact copies made by Dennis Hopper, who was inspired by the Giants when making his 1969 movie Easy Rider. He found a local Muffler Man in Los Angeles and made a mold and two copies from that mold. One depicting the giant in Malibu and the other based on a vintage picture of a mobile man. The giants were donated in 2013 to the Carnegie Center for the Arts in Dodge City, and we even drove out there to do an episode on these giants shortly after. Today, you can find one of them on display in Dodge City, and the other has been moved to a rural farm in Kansas.
It's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
I'm glad
you,
to
too.
do business with you. Call me anytime.
Also in 2013, a terrible movie came out called Axe Giant: The Wrath of Paul Bunyan. Although a Muffler Man was not used in the filming, a smaller version of the famous Bunyan in Bangor, Maine was somehow used. We are not sure if they made a smaller model or simply used CG to stick the giant in front of the cafe, but you can clearly see the resemblance. The movie is not really worth watching, but people took note of the Bunyan statue.
Howdy, Sheriff. Ronnie, how you doing? Fine.
Bruce Dern starred in a movie called Nebraska the same year, and in the opening part of the movie, Bruce's character can be seen walking along the highway in Billings, directly across from the L.P. Anderson Tire Factory. The giant was purchased new from a tire convention in California in 1965 and brought to Montana. The Muffler Man is one of a handful of Bunyans that has cowboy-style pants and not the normal Bunyan boots. The giant is still there today.
Where you headed up to? How you doing there, bud?
In 2017, the TV show Ozark was shot in central Missouri and featured the Indian chief we restored the year before. The giant was used in a few shots and was looking great because he had just come out of restoration. The chief used to be part of Two-Bit Town and was originally ordered in the 60s along with many other international fiberglass figures. In 2015, the giant was in rough shape and we were approached about the restoration. It was our first big job and it turned out very well. In 2017 and 2019, Stephen King's It movies came out and both of them use a Paul Bunyan Muffler Man style giant. Stephen most likely saw Muffler Men growing up in the Northeast and included the giants in his movies. We think both of these were made specifically for the movie, as we have never seen them anywhere else and they both resemble the giant Bunyan in Bangor. The one used in the first movie is more primitive, but the one used in It 2 is very detailed and larger and even comes to life in one of the scenes. In 2022, the Netflix series Florida Man contacted us and used one of our Muffler Men for the series. The giant is from the Danbury Fair and was known as Pecos, and when we took him down in 2018, we discovered he was just a regular Bunyan underneath all that scholastic. Netflix borrowed him for a few months and used him to film a sinkhole scene, and then returned him to us, restored and repainted.
You want to get away?
Also in 2022, during the Super Bowl game, a Chevy commercial did a spin off the old Sopranos open and reshot the sequence of scenes, but modern day, and with one of their new electric trucks. The scene with the Muffler Man was recreated, and the woman driving the truck gives it a quick glance while sucking on a lollipop to mimic Tony Soprano puffing on a cigar. The entire commercial was really well shot, and the shot of the Bunyan was much better and more clear than when he was originally shot in 1998. American Giants received a lot of comments from people who saw the Muffler Man during the Super Bowl game. In 2023, an American comedy series premiered on Apple TV Plus starring Patricia Arquette. Interestingly, this was not her first connection to a Muffler Man, as she had starred in The Indian Runner 32 years before, which featured a Uniroyal gal. The show was called High Desert and featured Big Josh, the Muffler Man, located at the station in Joshua Tree. Back in the 2000s, Josh was located in Mecca, California, and went for many years without a head before he was eventually restored. Josh was featured in the opening credits of the show, but High Desert was canceled the same year after just one season. In 2024, American Pickers visited Mark Klein in Natural Bridge, Virginia, and prominently featured Muffler Men and Mark's work. Multiple giants were around the yard during filming, and Robbie even purchased a few of the heads during the episode. Robbie Wolf is also a friend of American Giants, and I have had the privilege of speaking to him many times and visiting his shop. He finds and sells Muffler Men and other international fiberglass figures from time to time.
His episode will air on the newest season of American Pickers.
I don't answer to anybody.
Last on the list is the recent show Tulsa King, starring Sylvester Stallone. Buck Adams, the giant owned by Mary Beth Babcock, was featured in one of the episodes, as it is a local landmark. We brainstormed with Mary Beth back in 2018 and pitched the idea she should work with Mark Klein on a custom Muffler Man for her store. In 2018, that became a reality, and today, Buck Adams is one of the most famous Muffler men on Route 66.
What do you know about wind turbines?
I know they blow.
Buckle up, here we go.
So that was a lot of fun to take a look at that. It's really cool how many times American Giants has actually been somehow affiliated with some of the Giants used in movies, or directly, like with Netflix when we loaned our Giant. So again, thanks for watching. Thank you to all the new subscribers out there that have joined us. Really appreciate it. If I've missed some movies or TV shows that Muffler Men have been in, let me know. I want to know about any I missed so I can complete my list. And as always, it's great to hear from you. Keep in the pictures and tips and stuff coming in that you've been sending me. I'll see you in the next video.